Sweet. All right. Henry, are you at practice?
I'm at the gym, yeah.
Oh my gosh. You are like the most dedicated one out of all of us, apparently. Ooh, that's a good background. Um, JP, have we met? I don't
Never
know.
officially, no.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, great to meet you. So you are UConn.
so yeah, I was UConn class of 2019. But yeah, I'm here just because Peter invited me today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, feel free to join in any of these. Hopefully, this will be the first of many where we can just
Yeah,
like
for sure.
hang out and chat about stuff.
Yeah, for
um,
sure. Because like, what's
yeah.
it called? Both Henry and I are pretty involved with UConn. So at least, even though I already graduated, I'm still pretty involved with them. So if you ever need support for anything, I got you.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, UConn's been like a powerhouse for years, even back in the Breaks U days when I was throwing the collegiate events, like mid 2000s. Like UConn always came deep. And that was when Dan went to UConn, Henry. Oh, is he frozen?
He might be frozen.
Oh, okay. Henry, are you back?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi is not the best here.
All good. Yeah, I was saying that UConn's always been a powerhouse, like even back in the days when Dan was there, and he would always come through with like at least three squads for like every breaks you. It was like pretty awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How old
Um,
is Dan?
huh? How
How
old?
old is Dan? I just always
Dan
known
is
him.
my
He's
age.
he's
Oh yeah.
uh he's about 32. Yeah, we're the same age.
Oh wow. Well, is Dan
Hmm.
still
I feel
breaking?
like I met him at UConn. Here and there. I haven't seen him in a while, but he posts clips here and there, like in our crew chat. Yeah.
Oh.
I think I met him at like one of the first ever jams I went to. So he's been around for me since forever.
Yeah, he's been well, both Henry and Ben have sorry, Henry and Dan have been around for a while. And I say Ben because I see Ben saying what's up to B-Boy Peach, Ben Ono on the
Mm.
chat.
Oh,
Yeah. Um
wait, which chat is this?
so the
Oh, in
YouTube
the
chat.
The
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah,
live.
yeah. Uh-huh.
oh,
Mm.
Yeah.
right.
So we have at least one viewer that I can see.
Nice.
So yay. um but yeah, so how is UConn doing? I mean, it's still probably like a monster kind of club, right? Like a ton of people.
Yeah, it's it's doing well. I would say the initial engagement we had was about 30 people in the first practice we had.
Wow, that's
We've
a
been keeping it
lot.
steady around like 10 to 20 for the past few weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that sounds about right because like everyone kind of, wants to learn, right? And then they realize, oh, this is really hard. Or something, or they're just curious and then maybe they have their like fingers in like different clubs or something and they're just trying to figure out like where they fit in best. So, um,
Definitely.
yeah, it's always that challenge. Um, how are you guys? So are you hosting like open classes? Like, what does that look like? What was your lesson plan, Henry?
So at the moment, I'm doing Tuesdays and every other Wednesday. So Tuesday is in the ballroom. That's the same room we did the jam in, but we only use half of the space because we don't need that many, not that many people there. So it works out well. And then Wednesdays in the armory. It's kind of like a classic building, but we're in the downstairs, which is like the mat room. So both days when I teach, it's kind of like cipher based.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's pretty much my approach, and it works out well. So that if there's someone with not a lot of experience, they can kind of hop in. Whereas the guys who have a lot of experience now, especially vocabulary, they're able to have a lot more fun with some of the stuff I throw at them. But it's looking good right now.
Nice. And JP, are you like still in the area? Like, do you still go to practices at UConn?
I used to, but I actually earlier this year I moved to Cambridge, so now I get to go
Oh, oh my
there.
gosh,
I'm
you're
here now
local.
actually. Yeah. Wait, are you in you're in Boston, right?
I am, yeah. I just haven't been
Yeah.
showing up to practice because I'm just like so
That's all good.
swamped with work.
Yeah,
I
that's all
always
good.
feel so guilty. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I haven't been practicing. I feel like it's like my inner, like me talking to my crewmates, like, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not pulling my weight for the crew name.
Come on, Susie. I've been here for 2 months and we still haven't seen each other.
I know. It's so bad. I'll probably see you at like the GMU jam.
Yeah, of all things. I'm not gonna be able to make it to that
Oh
one.
my gosh, really? So okay. Well, I'll rep for us. Yeah, because I can't go to the Harvard Jam either. I have to go to Jersey for my best friend's wedding. So it's like I'm missing the Harvard Jam and yeah. But yeah, no, that's good. I know. Me too. So yeah, I heard the Yukon Jam was a huge success. I saw some of the footage and stuff, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
good time.
were there a lot of like students who are like maybe non-breakers that like came through? Did you try to advertise to like the local student body?
Yeah, we put up flyers around campus. It was kind of like a design different flyer. It had a QR code, um, for like our Instagram, so that they could keep up with the information. Um, but in general, it was more people from the breaking community, hip hop community that were there. But there were students, but they were very in and out. Mostly like friends of some of the people in the club now.
Yeah. Um, so when we were chatting with Northeastern, because I was pretty blown away in terms of how quickly the Northeastern Club grew, just like even like post pandemic. And I think it was like a Thurva that was like, yeah, we just have to be like really, really, really annoying about like grabbing all your friends and your friends' friends and just like making them come and then they end up liking it. So I don't know how tried and true that method is, but I remember, so I was a cheerleader back when I went to MIT. And that was how we recruited people, like especially guys, because we wanted like strong guys to like throw us up in the air and stuff. So I was like super annoying with like, hey, come try out cheerleading, come try out cheerleading. So yeah, I guess to some extent it probably works a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think like even with a lot of the like attrition rates, like people who stay in breaking like really end up like really getting immersed. But I think we just have to make it like a little bit more accessible and easy for people to find. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so JP, how long have you been breaking for?
So I started at UConn when freshman year,
Oh,
and I was
nice.
315. So it's been like 7 years now, actually. But yeah, I wasn't exposed to it before. But as you said, it was more of like saw it as one of the clubs, and I didn't really have anything else to do. I was like, let me try it out, and then the rest was history. You know, you just like felt like once you go and try it, then you kind of like fall in love with it. You know,
Yeah,
it just sticks around.
yeah, for sure. Um, Peter and I were kind of like walking down memory lane a little bit, just talking about like the old college jams. Because we were talking about who was going to be judging the GMU jam coming up, and I guess one of the judges, Prolix, used to throw the circles jam. And Henry, you remember circles?
Yeah, I went once. Yeah.
Yeah, so James Madison University down in Virginia, and it's not like Virginia by DC, Virginia. It was like deep in Virginia, where it's like
Yeah,
an
in the
additional,
mountains.
yeah, it was like an additional 2 or 3 hours drive, like from like the DC area. So, um, yeah, so he's judging the GMU jam, which is kind of cool because you get like people coming back who used to be college boys, and they're still involved and they're still continuing. So that's like really cool. But yeah, like a lot of old school college jams, and hopefully like UConn will continue and start like building like a reputation as like one of the key college jams that always happens. Because like UPenn is another one, right? Like Rhythmic Damage has been
Hmm.
around forever. And like every footage you see is that like signature checkered floor, and like, oh yeah, that's Rhythmic Damage.
Yeah.
I haven't even been to that jam, and I know exactly what Phil's
Yeah.
talking about.
That's
I
hilarious.
know what
Yeah.
you mean.
Yeah. So they're gonna have another rhythmic damage coming up in November. So that's gonna be really cool. It's the same weekend as Red Bull New York, the World Finals.
The day
Oh,
after, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's gonna get stacked.
That's gonna be a
cool.
super hype one. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. I think they finally got the venue back. They weren't able to throw it in the past years because they used that hall. So UPenn was like the COVID testing site for Philly, and that hall was
oh,
used as that. So like they couldn't get it even if they wanted to. Um, but now that they stopped doing the testing there, I think they got it back.
nice. Yeah, it's so weird. It was such a different like it felt like, a video game where like um you see what is it like Fallout or something, it's like, oh, this takes place in like Boston and you see all the same scenes, but it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of like view. So it's like super weird. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, yes, this is my like time chamber. I'm gonna train so hard, and like after the pandemic ends, I'm gonna be like super dope. And I'm like, after like a month, and I was like, yeah, now fuck this. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple
Just
of us
tough.
went through that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so are there any jams that you guys are like looking to hit up, or maybe like some of your students are looking to hit up coming up soon?
Battle for Boston.
Yeah. How many squads do you have for Battle for Boston?
Uh, we don't know yet. At least two, but we don't know yet how many.
I mean, two is a great number, to say the least.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get all of our newbies to enter.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do feel
Try to
like
get
that
there.
was one thing we would always do at UConn. Like, I feel like we would always just get everyone to battle somehow.
Pretty
Like, if
much.
anything else, like, we may have like not had the best skills, but like we got everyone to battle though.
Yeah,
No one was
UConn is
afraid of battling.
scrappy.
No one was afraid of battling, even if they
Yeah.
like don't have that much moves. They will six step and stand up.
Mm-hmm.
They will straight up do that.
That
Y'all always
is
had like four
awesome.
squads at every jam.
They want to battle, yeah.
I mean, how did you guys get that like mentality and attitude to the students? Because that's like really rare, I feel like. It just
Um,
happened.
Happened
I mean,
naturally.
during my time, I feel like we were just all, I don't know, like none of us were the most competitive really. We were just like all just having fun kind of thing. So just more of like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is just what we do. We just all show up to the college events and we just throw sets, guys. We wouldn't really as much prep for events. Not gonna lie, we would just show up and just throw shit. That was kind of thing what we did. There was one year when I think all three UConn squads made it past prelims, and like two of our squads were all like, "Wait, what do we do now?" Like they actually they didn't know what to do after they made it past prelims.
That's amazing,
But,
though.
but yeah,
Yeah, I
show
wonder.
up and figure out what we do when we get there.
Yeah, no, that's a great mentality. I'm a planner, so I'm always like, all right, how many sets do I have left? All right, okay, like if I like make it past this, it's gonna be like 2 rounds here and then 3 rounds here, and then I'm just like, I have to like plan everything out because I'm like so obsessive about it. But that's, I mean, great just to be like, let's rep, let's just do it. I wonder because like UConn isn't really near like a big city with a big scene, right? And I
Not really.
wonder if it's, yeah, like I wonder if it's like because of your location, you're not constantly seeing these like super famous, super dope, like big B boys, like and B girls, like around, right? And then thus like developing some sort of like inferiority complex or whatever. I'm just speculating because when I started, I was just like kind of sitting in the corner. I'm like, oh gosh, like the whole Boston scene is here. You see like sometimes floor lords come through, and then you see like problems crew, and I'm just like, I'll just be in my corner here.
No, yeah, I mean, especially what's it called? During my years at UConn, actually, it was a very interesting time because there was a transitionary period that the club went through where when I first joined my freshman year, like UConn practices were like where like all of Connecticut would go.
Oh,
Like it was more of like sometimes there'd be like more out of staters than like students at the practices. That was very common. Like 20 people would just show up to the UConn practices. But then my sophomore year onward, they just less and less people came. And by my senior year, like no like or like very few, like just Henry or something, would like actually be showing up to UConn practices. So I do feel like there was a time when UConn was center point of like at least for CT of like bringing like the BYU community together, but then it kind of drifted away and we just became like college kids throwing b-boy moves versus like more integrated with the club. But I mean the scene, not the club.
yeah,
But we're definitely trying to bring that back if we can. What's it called? Uh, I feel like a lot that's happened like during COVID. So a lot
yeah,
of it's just like post-COVID. What can we do with the club? Because it's at a
right.
definitely at a low point right now. And yeah, if we can try to bring it up to back like to what it was before, because as you said, Connecticut doesn't really have many big cities or like as much. So like for at least Connecticut, me and Henry do believe that like UConn is a very like pillar of the scene. Like UConn can it needs to be like UConn club cannot die, yo. Like
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
been
if you're
around way.
thinking, oh, go ahead.
It's been around way longer than I have for like breaking.
Yep.
It's like over 20 years old.
Oof, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, if you're saying, oh, we're at the low point and you're bringing at least two squads to battle at Battle for Boston, I'm like, that's not a bad low point, honestly. But I mean, so do you have any like plans so far in terms of how would you approach trying to get UConn back to being kind of like a more centralized practice spot for the Connecticut scene? Like any ideas?
Mm, Just availability, I guess. Like the days I teach, even it's still considered like open practice.
Hmm.
Um, so at the moment, it's really just Tuesday, Wednesday, but unofficially, we do usually practice on a Friday and Sunday. So those are open to everyone. It's just those aren't really as advertised
Hmm.
openly, and they are random too. Sometimes they don't happen, but it's kind of like you just look at the story for Yukon breaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is open technically, but that's what I think would help a lot more is like consistent practices in some of the better locations on campus because that's the one thing I would say as someone from the scene who's just been going like where you practice at UConn is actually always really good. Good surface, or there's something good about it that's worth, at least for me, it would be like a 30-minute drive from where
Hmm.
I lived. But for other people in the scene, it was definitely further. So I think
Oh,
that's why over the years I was like going to UConn for practice more, but really taking advantage of like what I could get done for practice there. I
yeah.
think.
So I'm a little out of touch with like the current scene. Like who's still breaking that's not a college student like in Connecticut? Because it was like United Outcast heavy, like that was like your territory. But like I don't really, I mean, and I haven't been to a ton of jams lately, but like I don't see like Trinity and Integrity around. I don't see like, Lou around so much. Like who's like there?
Yeah. So generationally, I guess you could say like those people you named, yeah, they're doing other things, not
Hmm.
really showing up to practice. But yeah, you have like I would still consider JP like he comes to Connecticut pretty often for practices still.
Nice.
But yeah, you got like the Problem Screw guys. They're more like New Britain area, which is if we're talking like from where UConn is, it's like an hour to the west, just about 45
Yeah.
minutes to an hour. So uh, it's rare for to see them at UConn right now, but I'm sure like um, with more availability, more people would come. We'd had people like Jossie. He's just you probably wouldn't know that name, but he's like a legend out here. Just an older generation dude, but he comes around still. Always went to UConn practices. Um, yeah, it's just like in a different generation. Definitely, people felt like driving out to UConn was worth it for
Hmm.
practice, and that's what I saw like in my beginnings.
Yeah.
Just a room full of people from all over Connecticut. But definitely, yeah, JP made a good point. It just had a slow trend over time where less people were coming out. But it is kind of generational too. Like a lot of those people are older now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes in it comes and goes in waves. Like sometimes this like University of Maryland for the DMV used to be like the spot and everybody went there, and then it just kind of trickled down, and now GMU is the spot and everybody goes there. And I think it's like what you were saying earlier, it's just the consistency. Like they have a consistent spot there, there's always students there, so there's always like a place for everyone to show up. And then it's just like once a couple people start consistently showing up, then everybody else starts showing up. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
know, I think once if you guys keep it up consistently, like the people will come.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
So what about the Harvard practices? Would you say that the Harvard practices are now kind of like the core Boston area practice? Like where do well, so there's the flavor continues, right?
Northeastern.
Oh, Northeastern, that's right.
Northeastern is the main hub. Yeah, I mean Harvard. The problem is we've been pretty inconsistent. Well, obviously COVID messed things up, but then like this year we don't actually have a consistent spot. It's kind of been like ad hoc reserving. I mean, it's the same room, but we don't know that we have it until the week of, which is like it's hard to convince. I mean, we could probably tell people that we have practice every Thursday, but like, and then if it changes, we just let them know where. But it's hard to like publicly post, hey, these are our consistent spots this year, except for our Sunday schedule. And I think historically that's the one that if anybody shows up, it's to the Sunday practice because that one's been consistent for years. And it's a really good spot. I mean, it's the venue that we throw all of the jams in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Lowell Hall. Yeah.
Yeah, Lowell Lecture Hall. Yeah, people really know that spot and like it. So yeah, and it's also open to the public. I think that's the other thing is a lot of even back when we did have a consistent schedule on like Tuesday, Thursdays were our other practices. It was in like a dorm, so you had to like either sneak in or have someone let you in. Whereas the Sunday one, anyone can just walk in.
Nice. JP, where do you practice in the Boston area?
So when I first got here, I just tried to see every place, but now it's primarily TFC and Northeastern.
Oh,
I
nice.
feel like also that's because like those are like the two that were open during the summer, because like during the school year there weren't as many. But like I went to Harvard a couple times, and I used to go to MIT a bit too. But yeah, I like varying up practice spots to different people kind of thing. Cause like Henry agrees with this. Like we've talked about this. So just practicing with different people just ignites something else too.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's just like a different area. And also yeah, you always want to just be building like no connections or just what's it called? You get more inspired when you're in different groups or different areas.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's why, like, I mean, with a place like Boston, there's like tons of colleges around, and you have like different colleges hosting different like practices. Like, I know Tufts holds their practice, and they're a little bit out of the way, but I think they're building like the Green Line or something, or some, yeah.
There was a Tufts practice tonight. I was thinking of going, but
Ah,
I'm here then instead.
oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
JP,
Yeah.
Let me know when you're thinking of going. I was gonna swing by to one of
Yeah.
those someday.
Yo, so I messaged them and they told me Thursdays and cause they have a couple days, but I was like, okay, which ones are open? And they're like, oh, we don't know yet. And then I think they messaged. Wait, let me just.
I think they
I know
told me Thursdays
was
were
okay.
open.
Yeah.
And then Sundays they're
I think.
maybe gonna make open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's Thursdays and Sundays.
Okay. I've been teaching Harvard on Thursdays typically, but
Are you the Harvard coach now, Peter?
unofficially, yeah, it's under no
Sweet.
official status. There's only a couple of them. The club is actually pretty small.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of seniors, and not a lot of not seniors, so it's gonna be a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I figure, like, you know, I'm working on campus, and I want to make sure they, you know, have the resources they need to keep going. So, yeah, just helping out how I can, but trying to keep a consistent Thursday schedule.
Nice. So we'll probably
Tonight.
so we'll have maybe 2 UConn squads, 1 Harvard squad, maybe, Peter?
Probably one. I'll try to get 2.
Okay.
I've heard Princeton said that they were gonna bring 5 squads.
Are you serious?
Ooh.
I
Dang.
believe that.
Yeah, so we'll see, but I think I do remember in the past they've brought like 4-ish 5 squads, so I'd
Wow.
see it. I know Rutgers is coming. Um, Jeff Min, who's actually in he's in the chat right now, but he he
Oh.
said he's gonna bring up a Rutgers squad. Um, so I know of at least those, and Northeastern of course will have plenty.
Yeah, I'm sure. Man, I feel like in the past it was like pretty easy to like predict, who usually, I mean, UConn usually gets like pretty far. Um, but like I don't have a sense like at all in terms of like who do we think would be some of like the favorites or like schools to look out for. I mean, I feel like you guys might have a better idea. Like, who do you guys think?
I was able to scope it out a little more at Saddle Rock. I think the problem was there's a lot of people that I associate with each school, but then because it's actually like no, they have to be a student.
Uh,
It like changes the game a bit. Um, yeah, but I think in general for I mean this is true for like most crew battles, but definitely for the collegiate ones, I think the winning like you need an ace for sure, like somebody who can do well at non-collegiate jams as well, and
mhm.
then like is making top 16s at non-collegiate jams, and then you need to round out your squad with 2 people who at least have like solid foundation. And I think typically in the past that's been kind of the winning strategy for like a lot of the past ones. Like the Battle for Boston's, like the first one, it was like Taylor Lamba and Sideshow
Mhm.
were like crushing it, and then
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn College won like 2 of them with Kilo as
Mhm.
their
Yeah.
ace. And like the rest of the squad was really good as well, but it was like when in doubt they could always throw Kilo and nobody at the jam could beat him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think figuring that out is kind of the first one. I think Yale has some good people.
Okay. Yeah.
They might be really strong. I know they battled at Style. I think they had a squad at Style to Rock, and 2 of the 3 were like actual current students.
Oh,
I don't know
nice.
one of the guys' name. He had like the head spin moves, and then
Yeah,
Jin.
that's Andy. Andy's what's it called? He's studying at Yale. He's from Germany. He's got
Oh,
nasty like head spin like headstand moves.
Yeah,
But I
so
feel
I
like
think
yeah,
I think
Yale has
Yale's a
a
team to
solid
watch.
squad
Yeah,
because they have 3 current students who came in with experience.
oh,
Mm.
huh. Interesting. I feel like that doesn't happen very often, at least with like,
No.
like the IVs and the big schools like
Not in
that.
this generation. I feel like it was more
Yeah.
of maybe when we were in school, some of us had, but like like nowadays, it's very rare. I feel like to see an incoming student with experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, it'll be really interesting to see at Battle for Boston that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Because that'll be our first qualifier, right? And then, I mean, you guys have multiple squads, UConn, so at least it'll be like +1 for your like additional participant squad that doesn't make it as far as like your top squad. So there's that incentive that we added in.
I think
Yeah.
I think Rutgers will actually be to look out for.
Mm.
So Jeff, well, Saddle Rock was the first time I saw Jeff, who's like this year's kind of replacement president, I guess, because the other one's on study abroad. Um, he's only been breaking he's a sophomore. He's only been breaking for a little over a year, but he was a tricker beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Okay.
I watched him break, and I was like, wait, he's really good. I thought he'd only been breaking for a year. Yeah, I thought that he's a tricker. So, he's got that, and then I don't know who else is currently students, but I know since there's the 1 year alumni rule, I know like Fee is a
Hmm.
solid person. So if he comes up as an alum, um, if that's 2 of the 3, they're already got a really
Mm.
good squad. And I don't know who their third person would
Sure.
be, but with a club as consistent as them, I'm sure they have someone who's pretty solid.
Yeah. I know that like they have some local b-boys that would like join. Do you know like who's kind of like their ambassador or whatever, or kind of like unofficial coach that kind of helps them out? Because I used to go to Rutgers
I think
practice a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're pretty just integrated with the scene in general. I think in the
Yeah.
same way that like like they are the kind of like one of the practice spots for the Jersey scene. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, I know like obviously like Fee still shows around. I think Rich Nice
Hmm.
probably hangs out there a lot.
Yeah.
So um, if I had to say someone, I would say Rich, but
Yeah, that's what I would think
I
too.
don't know for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. I know Eric was supposed to join us, and he's like from like the DMV area, so we can get like a download. I don't know where he is right now, but I'm like super curious because like DMV is like the furthest away from us up here, and like I hear the least amount of news about them because I'm typically around like the New York, New Jersey, and like the Boston area back and forth. Those are kind of like my home scenes. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I can speak to the DMV because I've been there the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
4 years.
you've been there for so long, bro.
Yeah, it depending on who you ask, I'm a DMV b-boy or a Boston b-boy.
That was like me with like being from Boston or New York because I started in Boston and I braked in Boston for 2 years, but then moved to New York for like 11 years, right? And I joined like a New York
Uh-huh.
crew and all of that. So, but it's like I wasn't like, I didn't grow up in New York. I'm not like a New Yorker, you know? So it's like really hard. But I feel like
Right.
I rep New York a little bit more just because the amount of
Yeah.
time that I spent there and trained there. So, anyway.
I
Mm.
think for me, it's like I started in Boston for sure, but I didn't really make a name until I went to the DMV. Um, like that's when people started to know me was like when I started doing well in competitions was when I moved, and
Yeah.
then but now I'm back in Boston, so it's pretty it goes either way. But yeah, no, the DMV scene is they they're doing pretty well. I think that like GMU, obviously, again we mentioned them before. They're doing great in terms of growing. Um, they have like good consistent numbers of like, and they have like the healthy blend of they have 3 to 5 people who are like in school who are also like going to all the jams and like really integrated with the scene, and then you show up to practice and there's like another dozen people who are
Wow.
just they're practicing and just like casually learning, um,
Mm.
and they have a good social atmosphere, so they have kind of all the above. um, University of Maryland has been dead for a few years now, even though
Mm,
they were the hotspot. But I've heard apparently as of recently, there's a few people who are they're actually trying to revive the club. Like they have a couple
nice.
students who were I think they break before they got into college, and so now they're trying to like reactivate the club. Um, so hopefully they show up to the GMU event because from what I've seen of the 2 people at least that I know who are students, they're both really good. So
Okay, okay.
yeah,
So that might be
I think
another
they'd be. I
like
think
underdog coming through, no one expected.
no one knows. I think if they do show up, it'll be between them and GMU
Okay.
for that event. Because there's like JMU has a pretty big club, UVA has a club,
Hmm.
Virginia Tech has a club, and they're all
Wow.
pretty healthy as well. But I don't know if they have like an ace per se, right? They
Uh-huh.
can field 3 solid people who can throw solid rounds, but
Right.
I don't know how they'll do. Like,
Oh, did he freeze on?
He's lagging a little bit.
I don't know.
Okay, I think you're back now.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
actually
what was the
interesting because
last thing I said?
I feel like the scene. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the scene that I don't really know as much about, which I feel like I'm surprised I don't, is New York. Do you guys know how the New York schools are doing? Because like I feel like during like my time at least, there was like Stony Brook and like
Yeah.
NYU were like powerhouses. I feel like they were like
Yeah. Hunter was a big one too, Hunter
yeah,
College.
and
There used to
Hunter
be
as
a big,
well.
Mm.
yeah. Hmm.
But I'm not sure if it's just because like since I graduated, I just don't hear from them. But I feel like I haven't really seen those schools in a bit.
I feel like they're very integrated into the community because I mean it's just like the city, right? So the practices that they go to are primarily like the same practices that like the community would go to. They practice in Manhattan at PMT with like other people. So I feel like they don't make a lot of noise like independently as a college, but they go to like main practices. So like I think Stony Brook, I don't know how big the Stony Brook club is. I know Illison is she's on the server. She was at the summit. Or sorry, I don't know if I'm using the right pronouns. But yeah, they were at the summit, and then I did have a few communications with NYU as well. So they're um, everyone has the same story. It's like, oh man, like our club was like big, but because of the pandemic, like we lost a lot of people and we're trying to rebuild. So I think that's where they're at right now. But yeah, they definitely get a little bit more integrated into the local community than maybe some other colleges do. So, but Hunter, I don't think is a big thing anymore. I haven't seen a lot of noise from them. Columbia. So I reached out to the Columbia people. They're primarily grad students. Powie is a grad student at Columbia. I have a couple of other people that I
Oh,
practice
snap.
with. Yeah, like right before the pandemic, I was practicing at Columbia a little bit, but they didn't really have a lot of interest in like reviving a club per se and running the club. They just like show up to practice at the same building that we've been practicing at like for years and years and years, even back in the day in Columbia. But yeah, so there's no real club there, but there are some students there. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's the biggest difference maker between clubs that exist in the space and ones like say like a Yukon or a Northeastern that really blow up. I feel like at least one person, but typically a couple people who are like really passionate about growing the like specifically growing the club and not just practicing there. And it really only takes a couple people to be the ones who are like constantly showing up to every practice, constantly like asking people to help like teach the beginners, constantly showing up to other jams, because showing up to other things means that other people will show up to your things.
Hmm.
Um, and all it takes is like really if one person gets the ball rolling, that's what it really needs. I mean, that's what MIT was back when you were around, Susie. Like
Hmm.
you were the one who like really pushed MIT up to where it was, and like the momentum stayed for a bit, but then over time, like the club loses steam because if you lose somebody, or if you don't have a consistent person kind of in charge keeping the ball rolling, then eventually it'll slow down, and then some other college will pick it back up. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, it always just needs like that one person. Um, so it depends on the school. Like I think Northeastern has that. I think UConn, you guys have it. I think
Hmm.
GMU has it. I think Rutgers has it. Like they were, Jeff is Jeff is great. They're throwing the jam on Sunday actually,
Yeah.
1-on-1, and it's just a for fun jam. And Jeff was like, yeah. Well, so he said it was two things. He said one, he wanted to just like keep Rutgers connected with the scene and have like a thing for the new people to see. But he was also like, I've never thrown a jam before, and we have to throw the third qualifier event.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw this as a practice.
That's so smart.
That's really good. Yeah.
My first
Yeah.
jam, I tried to make it like big, and it was like not a good idea. Like I lost out so much money because I tried to do too much, and that was just like a key learning. This was like Battle in the Burbs like six back in like 2004, and I had it at my high school, and like Battle in the Burbs had a name already at that point, but that was the last Battle in the Burbs, and then like we didn't throw it anymore. But yeah, a lot of key learnings. So that's why like I always advise people just to like try some things. I mean, like the stream, right? It's like nothing fancy. Like there's still probably a lot of hiccups. I want to put some better graphics and stuff. I don't know, but let's just try it. Let's just hang out, have a conversation, and then maybe we can start putting a little more structure to it and have more guests or whatever. But like this is a lot of fun for me, just like catching up and seeing what's going on with everyone. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, definitely. I feel like one of the best advices for like people throwing their first jam is just like keep it small and keep it quality.
Hmm.
Because I think, I mean, same mistake. Everybody runs into it. Like first Battle for Boston was the first jam I ever threw, and I tried to do too many things. Like I had the crew battle, I had the B-girl battle, I had a footwork battle, I
Oh
had
my
the
gosh.
power comp, and it was just a mess. Like just too many things all at once. And we, over the years, Battle for Boston has pared back. Like take out one of those battles, take out another one of those battles, and now it's like at a happy medium where it's just like crew battle, B-girl battle, or in this case, crew battle, Bonnie and Clyde. Um, and like I did that. I made the mistake. I did it again at my second jam, which was break easy, like the fifth break easy or something. And we did 2v2 breaking and 2v2 all styles, and the jam just went way too long. So yeah, I don't think any like the jam went fine, and it was still like a decent jam. But I think if you want the jam to grow into a big jam, you don't want it to be like it's better to have a small, really good jam than a medium okay jam. Because if you have a medium okay jam, it'll just stay at a medium okay jam.
Yeah.
But if you have like a small to mid-sized great jam, then the next year it'll be a medium-sized great jam, and then the next year it'll be a medium-large great jam, and eventually it'll be really good. But yeah, the
Yeah.
size thing is definitely always like it's like Icarus. Everyone like their first jam, they want it to be like the next Silverback, but it's just it's not going to be the case.
Yeah. And like I feel like you make a good point. Like, so I have very mixed feelings about like having non-breaking battles at a breaking event, right? Because back in the day, you would always try to squish in like a popping battle, and that's what I used to do, like way back in the day, popping battle and a breaking battle. And now like people do like all styles battle and a breaking battle, and sometimes it like well most of the time it doesn't work because people who go there or AKA me, I'm like, when's the breaking going to start again? Like, let's keep this moving because I just want to like break, you know. But other times, I think like I mean, in Boston University, I feel like did a really great job where I actually enjoyed the all styles battle a lot more than the breaking battle. It was like so much like more hype and more fun to watch and all of that. So it's so weird. You know, again, I don't know what's like the secret sauce, right, to like make that successful. And speaking of Boston University, like what happened to Boston University? Like, are they still around? I don't know.
They have a couple people.
Oh,
They're down to yeah. They got like two. So I don't know if you remember Alan, like the young Asian kid from Floor Lords. Well, he's not young anymore. He's now like 20 or 21.
Okay.
No. He's like 18 or 19. So he's
Oh,
like
really?
he just started.
Oh, I
like
thought he was like a
college.
junior. Oh, never mind. Okay, he's still young.
He's sophomore max. He's sophomore max.
Oh, okay.
Where?
But anyways, yeah, they have a few people. And I think they are reviving the club. I think Bulletproof Funk is still around. I think they are. JP, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they have a stronger like other styles
I
presence
don't know who
than
that is.
breaking.
I don't know what crew
Okay,
that is.
never mind.
Oh
Never
yes,
mind.
yeah.
That's
Oh wait, I know that
Oh,
name.
okay, yeah, I've never practiced at BU. I've never heard that they practiced
I've
at
never
BU.
practiced.
That used to be a big practice spot before MIT was a big practice spot when I was breaking, when I started breaking. Yeah, so BU was the spot before the early 2000s. Like it ended in the early 2000s, and then like MIT came up when I was at MIT. So BU was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah, and they always had overdrive, and that
Hmm.
was consistently like one of the biggest
Yeah.
jams in Boston, which I did love that format.
Yeah.
And I think they captured. I mean, what you were saying, Susie, about like capturing the sauce of it was both an all styles and a breaking jam, but it was really fun.
Yeah.
Is like they targeted it and built the jam around both. It wasn't just like, hey, we have like it's a breaking jam, and then we also have this like
Yeah.
on the side. It was like, no, this is like a showcase performance. This is like both a breaking and an all styles battle. This is like a qualifier to be on the main stage, like for like the big showcase. And so I think that helped. Also, the fact that they didn't have to run through the entire bracket during the jam component, they
Yeah.
could just do top 16, top 8. So the jam didn't run. They could still run it all in 4 hours or whatever. So the energy was still high, and people were like, so it just like they turn on the break beats and everybody would just go really hard for like their 30 minutes or an hour, and then they would switch, and everyone, you'd take a break and just watch, and then so they were able to balance both instead of like, oh yeah, it's break beats the whole time, and then we just like toss on like one popping song like in the middle of the cipher break.
Yeah. I wonder if that's a formula that would maybe help other schools draw in a wider audience because there's going to be a lot of these like hip hop dance groups and stuff that like, there's a lot of following and a lot of participants there. So if you collab with those people to kind of generate like a larger event that's like part breaking part, like I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of brainstorming right now. I don't know.
I think it makes sense. And one of the things that Tung brought up a lot. So when I was living with him, he was like a strong proponent of reaching out to other clubs within the school, because and it's true. There's no reason that a breaking club has to exist solely within its bubble, and the only outreach is to the greater breaking scene. Like there can be collaborations within. There could and should be collaborations within the breaking school. I mean, he brought up like you should just hit up the stand-up club and have one of them MC a jam.
Oh, huh.
You know,
Okay.
like something like that, right? Like there are students who are willing to help out with these kinds of things. We just don't know about them. They don't know about us. Or like, I know like Harvard, we did like one performance with the beatboxing club. That was really fun. It was just a performance, but it was
Yeah.
still like, oh, like this is like a totally organic solution here. So you know, having more collaborations like that. But yeah, I think BU did a great job where they brought together like the all styles dance community and the breaking community. And I think JMU, so JMU, they have a club this year, and they're going to throw a jam in the spring. Date is still to be determined, but they were considering tying it in. I don't remember the name of the competition, but there's this really big choreo hip hop competition that happens some weekend in September or in the spring, and it's like one of the biggest on the East Coast. And they have to get like, you know, they get money from the school, but it helped like if they're just throwing their first jam in forever and they're like, hey, trust us, we threw circles, this was a big thing. I don't think like the school's gonna necessarily move the needle too much, but
Yeah.
if they did something kind of like what BU did with Overdrive, where they said like, hey, we're gonna throw a jam in this venue because the choreo competition takes place in multiple venues. It's like, hey, in this third venue, we're gonna have a breaking competition, and this breaking competition is gonna feed into this like choreo showcase at some point. They'd have a lot more resources to get involved with, and like the school would definitely be more willing to support it. It would be fun because like you would have people from the non-breaking community coming in to check out the jam.
Yeah.
There'd be like, I know there's I think they're saying there's usually like a big after party for that choreo competition, and the breaking jam can just show up to that, and I'm sure they'd have tons of fun. So there's a lot of synergy there that I think that would like make both events better, and I think it's a good idea for like clubs to do things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. Now that you mentioned after party, I think that is something that, I mean, even like the broader breaking community is like missing, is just like good parties, right? Because it's not all about just like showing up at the jam, competing in a basketball court or like wherever the case may be. It's like having that party environment. And I know Fleg is doing a 4 hours of funk, and he's doing a King of What jam out in New York. So, I mean, I, obviously I haven't been, it's the first New York version, right? But I used to go to his jams down in like the DMV area, and they were like amazing parties. Like Flag always throws an amazing party. And I think that's something that maybe like from a college perspective, you know, college parties, right? Like how can we kind of encourage that a little bit more so people can get that party atmosphere, ciphering at a party and just like bugging out, right? And it's different than like, oh, we're all at a club and you have this random guy trying to like cipher at the club, you know, like it's like different, you know. So I don't know. I think that's something that we're like missing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think for the first Battle for Boston, we threw an after party, and it was really good. Like a lot of people who were not at the jam came to the after party. It got probably a little too wild, but
okay,
Let's
go Harvard.
Yeah, I don't know. It just turned into basically a general college party because I think the person we got to DJ it was also just like in touch with more of the social scene of the college than I was. So, yeah, but you know, it is always, I guess there's always like it's a hard time for like when we're talking for NCBA and like colleges specifically, because like alcohol on campus and having a bunch of like non-students show up to a party like can bring in like interesting, like not ideal situations.
Okay.
Whereas like, yeah, Fleg can capture it because he's just gonna throw it at a bar, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's true. Yeah.
But I think there's still like ways to have that party situation. I just don't know exactly what that looks like for a college jam per se.
That's true. It's been so long. I forgot about the whole like alcohol and, you know, college rules, underage kind of thing. Okay. All right.
I mean, at most schools, I think it just kind of happens, but like, you know, you don't want the club to get in trouble for.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
and
true.
especially like,
Seems like
you
a
know,
lot to plan.
Yeah, and it's like I think it's also like it's one thing if maybe someone in the club, and it's, you know, with the club themselves. But you
Yeah.
know, for me, like, I'm helping throw a battle for Boston, and I would feel weird as like someone who's like 4 years out of college being like, hey, you guys should throw a party like for us.
Anton's watching us in the on the stream. You can pop in if you
Oh,
want, Anton.
Anton.
You pen
Oh yeah.
Anton, yes.
Oh, he's UPenn now. I didn't even know that. I only knew him when he was at Yale.
Oh.
I just bring
Unless
it
it's
up.
a different
Yeah.
Anton. But you have the same first and last name. There's no way it's a different Anton.
Yeah, man.
um,
Anton's been around. Anton's in charge of. Yeah, Anton, you should hop in if you're around. You should talk about rhythmic damage.
yes.
He's throwing it,
Oh,
or
he's
one of
running
the
rhythmic
two.
damage? What?
Him and Constance. Constance, I think, is the current president.
Hmm.
But yeah, Anton's helping out.
Yeah. So I guess like outside of the party idea, I mean, there are things that we could do to make that atmosphere, I guess. So yeah, I mean like lights, dimming with spotlights, like that's kind of like one way. And we talked about like room size when we were doing that workshop on, how to throw a jam, like having the perfect room size and then dimming the lights and having spotlights like that, I think already helps out a lot with that like vibe. So probably costs extra money to like get that set up, but it's
Yeah,
a
depends on
consideration.
the venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get that for Harvard because we've been using that same space, but we've actually never taken advantage of the lighting system.
Hmm.
And I know there's a way to like dim the lights and like put a spotlight somewhere, and I want to be able to do that for like the battle floor. And then, you know, even during the ciphers, like it's a different vibe when you're ciphering and it's like kind of dark versus like
Yeah.
it's fully lit.
Yeah.
So I would love for that environment to be there, and I think ideally I'd want it to be. So I think when Breaks You in like 2017 or 2018 was the last one that I went to, and I feel like they had it fully lit. The venue was fully lit when you walk in. It was fully lit during prelims, and then the moment like top 16 started, they like dimmed the lights, put the spotlight, and it was like, oh, okay, this is like it's getting real now. And then I think they kept it like that during the first cipher break, like after top 16. And I think it definitely had like it has a different feel for sure. Like it's subtle, but it makes a difference to be like,
Oh yeah.
oh, I'm gonna cipher in the corner in the dark, or like with these other people, as opposed to like, oh, it's an open lighting thing. I guess we're just gonna hang out and talk and stretch.
Yeah. I mean, it also helps with like being self-conscious. Like I am like I like to battle, but I'm like terrible at like ciphering and stuff because I get so self-conscious. And so dimming the lights definitely help me like lose myself into my own like little world when I'm like ciphering and stuff without like feeling like, oh my God, all eyes are at me, everyone's staring at me. So I like that a lot. But not too dark because I definitely did footwork into a wall at one point, like at like an old jam. It was in the DMV area too, and I was like, oh my God, I did not see that. It was so dark. So yeah, don't do what I did.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
thing we did for Style to Rock to kind of help a little bit with that party vibe was our MC. He did a guest performance like around halfway, and he has like breaking friendly songs which we were requesting for
Oh,
sure. But one of them is like his like Afrobeat. No, not Afro. It's like it's just a very chill. He's singing. It was very chill. But
yeah.
that was the one moment in the whole jam I felt like, okay, it's a party. And then we brought it back to
Nice.
like jam mode. But
That's
yeah, I think the MC
awesome.
is a big portion of that party vibe at a jam. Like they either have it or they don't really.
Hmm.
I think that's like a worthy investment for any jam.
That's awesome. So, who was your MC? Like, is he like a b-boy? Like, how did you find this guy?
Yes.
Ah,
He's in my crew. I've known him for 16 years. I
oh
started
wow.
breaking with him when I was in high school. But he's really like just as a person grown so much, and he does a lot like in his life. And emceeing has become like a really big part of his life in the past. I'd say like 7, 8 years. He like stepped away from breaking to like focus on emceeing, and he's just the type of guy where whatever he puts his energy into, he's gonna get really good at.
Hmm.
But the cool thing is he never really got too far away from the breaking scene. Like he would always show up to practices and stuff, but maybe not competing for a few years straight. But he's still around, definitely. Like people know Tang is his name.
Tang.
His
Okay.
Yeah, his rapper name is Tang Sauce. He's just doing all sorts of stuff. But he emceed our event. He's emceed plenty of times for other events like at UConn especially. But we hired him to do like 3 songs around top 8, and it was like a
Sweet.
nice because we knew that's when a lot of the spectators would be there,
Hmm.
so it worked out really well. And we had the b-boys throw down like for the first and the second song, and then the third song was like the like club song. So it was like it was very nice. Yeah, you just have to hear it, or yeah, gotta be there. But
The
it's a good
DMV
time.
people that came up loved him. I mean,
Yeah,
he was pretty fun. I mean, he
Nice.
was great. Obviously, like there was the beatbox, spontaneous beatbox
yeah, yeah,
cipher.
that too.
The speaker at one point like died briefly, like just for like a minute or something, and
Hmm.
like Tang just instantly, like without skipping a beat, just started beatboxing. And then he kept going for like 15 minutes or something.
It was long, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, he just has that within him.
Yeah, and then he got down during the judge showcase, like Henry and
Yeah,
JP did too, and
it was like a
like
staff judge showcase.
yeah, the DMV heads were like, holy shit, like the MC breaks too, and he's
Yeah,
dope, like he's so
he's
good.
dope.
He's
Yeah,
got them air flares.
yeah.
Never
Tang's been breaking
loses
longer
one.
than me.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess, we'll add him to the list of like dope MCs that we can consider for future events and stuff.
He will definitely come through, and he will like
Sweet.
bring the energy.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
I
haven't
mean
heard.
it helps to have some. Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say, so for the Battle for Boston, Edwin is MCA. I haven't
Yeah,
heard him MC before. That kind of caught
so
me by surprise.
he has never MC. So I
Okay.
was in charge of organizing. He's never MC before, but I really trust him to do it. I think so. So for me, so typically Brian is the MC for
Right.
Battle for Boston.
Yeah.
Because he's been the supporter of the jam from day. I mean, he was the one who advised me when I threw the very first one. So super helpful all the way. But he's gonna be in Portugal during that. So I was looking around for other MCs, and what I really wanted is like I think a large part of the MC is like making the atmosphere fun, as we were
Hmm.
talking about. And I think um like there's other people who I know who have done jams who can like handle the logistics side of it, but I honestly don't think like an MC, like as long as they've been to enough jams, and Edwin's
Yeah.
obviously been to plenty, they know how to handle logistics. That's not like overly difficult. And what I really wanted was someone to just get people like really hype, especially because this is like for a lot of people, Battle for Boston will be their first ever jam.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember like at my one of the first jams I went to was when Boston was throwing these like mock jams,
Hmm.
and I know Stax was the MC for one of them,
Mm.
and he just got people just like
Yeah.
doing the dumbest things. But like to me, that was like what sold me on
Yeah.
the scene. It was like the first thing I'd ever been to ever, and I was just like, you know what, this is a group of people that just likes getting really hype over really stupid things,
Yep.
and like that's fun. Like it wasn't even breaking. It was just like he would just get people shouting over random things. So like I kind of wanted to capture that environment again, and I think Edwin has like he has that energy where like even if you don't know anything about breaking, it's like he'll get you hype about it. And
Yeah.
obviously he's been in the scene and knows plenty enough about like how a jam goes that
Right.
all the logistical side of things is
Yeah.
going to be totally fine. So I was mostly looking for someone to bring that energy.
Yeah. So I think getting hype over stupid things is like a very core characteristic in my mind of college battles. Um, the last breaks you when I passed it off to Randy, who does not go by Randy anymore. I forget what his like new name
Young
is.
one.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So like what I took away was just like all these like hilarious crew routines that all the schools would come up with. And they're not like amazing B-boys or B-girls by any stretch of the imagination, but they were so creative and hype and hilarious that like that energy was just like unforgettable and it was like awesome. So it's like these college jams are like so much fun and it's not like BC1 level breaking, right? But it's like so much fun because you get hype over like stupid ass routines and like I'm really looking forward to all of that like in the upcoming qualifiers.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
think it's interesting though because like there it is definitely a hallmark of like the college jams for sure, but it's still in like the weird way persists in other jams too because you think about like Lions as Ion, these one of
Mm,
the greatest crews of the East Coast and like like their routines are as dumb or dumber than like any like thing I've seen in a college routine. I mean, they have ones where they like pretend to capture people's legs in bear traps and
yeah.
then they do the whole set without any legs. Like it's we should probably pull up, especially at circles. They've actually done a bunch of dumb routines at circles. But that's kind of like that kind of in a way defines Lions as Ion, and people like getting hype over that. So obviously they're also amazing and have incredible moves, but like if you can also add that entertainment element, like that can win battles. Like
Yeah, I mean, so different crews have their like different like personalities, right? So like Lions of Zion definitely known for like all that like silliness, right? Like I mean, you got toys, goofball, like I mean, enough said, right? Like just like right there, that's enough personality. And then you have like the crews that are like like Supernaturals. Back in the day, I know they're not as active now as a crew, but like they had like amazing, super intricate like threading routines because obviously like Toronto, they're known for threading, so they're all the routines like incorporated a lot of that, and you can see that in circles too. By the way, because I remember the one of the ones that I went to, Supernaturals was there. They had like amazing routines, and I was like, holy shit. And then you have like the super like traditional, like okay, so like Supreme Beings, right? Like our routines are very like just kind of like basic, nothing that like blows you away, but still very like New York style traditional as well, though like individually we all like have like very distinct styles. So there's kind of like we're more individualized, but like as a cohesive routine crew we're not like super known for that. And then you have like back in the day like Five Crew, right? Like Five Crew had like tons of routines and all of that, so it's just like different personalities, and I'm like wondering if that eventually is going to show up for like the different colleges, right? Like Harvard's going to be known for like this kind of personality and culture for their like crew and routines and styles versus like UConn's going to be known for something else. So it'll be really interesting to see just because like Henry is like now like the coach, right? So like Henry's philosophies will probably be like pushed down a little bit more prevalently or whatever. And then like Peter, like you're like coaching Harvard, so like your philosophy and breaking and the approaches will be passed down a little bit more. So it'll be like it's like you're the school of Peter, the school of Henry, kind of, but like unofficially speaking, right? So it'll be really, really interesting to see how that develops down the line, I think. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like UConn's routines were always super hype. Like you guys had the energy.
Now you got to deliver, Henry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we battled UConn. This was back when like
Oh no.
Oh,
Battle for
no, he
Boston's
liked
and
it.
like yeah, they did like oh man, we battled in prelims, but it was just like a super hype
That,
battle.
th-
Like we
th-
did a
that was
routine, and then they did like a haka or something at one point.
I know exactly what you're referring to, bro.
Yeah,
That,
and
that was
then
the,
and
that
then
was the year when Battle for Boston was in like the basketball court, and then we just had like linoleum floor, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
know
then
what you mean.
Eddie untied Guac's shoe during the battle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good times, good times.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I think the next live stream will probably like check in after um, the Battle for Boston and after the GMU Jam, so like maybe beginning of November. I mean, unless we feel like we just want to like hang out sometime in between, but it'll be good to just get together again and just talk about like the two jams that happened, where the rankings are, and stuff like that, so we can get like a closer look at like all the different colleges that are entering. So I'm excited to see that.
Make a tier list.
Yeah, should we
Ah.
have it?
Or is that
We
gonna
can we
cause
can
drama?
nah, let's do it. Let's do it after the first two events, or maybe in the lead up
I
to the finals, maybe. But
I love making tier lists.
All right, JP's assignment.
He'll do it.
If anyone wants to call him out based on his rankings. Yeah.
I will take that. I will take it, yo. It's like,
He'll do it.
you just let me just like show a tier list. I'll take any call out too.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm
I
gonna win
like it.
all of them, but like I'm still gonna make the tier list.
That's the scrappy Yukon energy I was talking
Yes.
about right there.
You don't have to do the whole thing now, but where are you putting UConn?
Wait, let me see. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I know how skilled UConn is. I already know that, right? But in comparison to how many schools there are, like where does that fall? I don't know yet
Uh-huh.
because I haven't seen all the current schools.
Okay.
But
Okay. We can do this. Let's do this after.
after Battle for Boston.
We can have after Battle for Boston and after
Yo,
GMU's
Yo,
event
I'm
because
actually so excited to see like what the schools are like Battle for Boston. Cause like, dude, you weren't at the last Battle for Boston, but last Battle for Boston, it was more of like, oh, okay, so it's still my generation who's ruling this, isn't it? They're like, cause I still saw a lot of people my age still in their college crews. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we were clearly just like overshining anyone else there. But like now that like we're not gonna be there anymore, I'm really hyped to see what goes down in this year.
yeah,
So, yeah.
too. I think because we're actually gonna be enforcing rules this year, the level's definitely gonna be lower and the numbers might be lower, but I think it will quality of the battles will maybe be higher in a different sense because it's like there's more meaning behind it. It's not just like, oh, that's just like some random super crew that like got put together at the last second. And like, oh, these three people, like, what are they even doing? Like, that person's not even in college. Like, you know. So I think because of that, like part of the magic of the battles is because like if it's actually like a real Yukon crew versus like a full Northeastern crew, I don't want to see that because you're gonna get a huge crowd of Yukon Connecticut people on one side, a huge crowd
Yeah.
of Boston people on one side. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll fix the bracket to make sure that happens.
Well, I mean, if
Rigged.
we're doing top whatever, right? In the prelims, you can definitely like fix the bracket and pair like
Oh,
hype
I might do
battles
that.
up, right?
I might tell Edmund to do that.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter because whoever makes top 16 still makes top 16 or whatever, you know?
Very
So,
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was thinking, is like with the rules for Battle for Boston, you're allowing high school students to enter. They just won't count towards the rankings, right? So I wonder if it'll get to a point at some point where the colleges will start like they'll see the high school students and they'll want to recruit the high school students into their school to join the club to battle for them, right? Like that would be like really interesting. So here we have a
That's where we'd like
scholarship.
to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually a really interesting point that Henry actually brought up when me and him were trying to brainstorm about like what we think the future of Yukon can be.
Hmm.
And that was something that we never really thought of. Like, have you guys ever heard of like someone wanting to go to a college because they're all like the B-boys there or like the B-boy scene there is really good. Because like if we can get to that level, I think that's like goals. If we actually get like high
Yep.
schools, like I want to go to this school because of the B-boy scene there or like the club there. It's just
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, we were talking about it like someone from like the West Coast hearing about like an East Coast school, and they're like, "Oh, I want to go there just because the club is good, the jams are good, they do workshops. Like, I just
Hmm.
want to go for the break-in." That would be an amazing thing to see.
Yeah. I mean, that's what me and
That'd be
Peter and all
awesome.
of us are trying to get to, right? So like whatever you guys like feel like you would like our help in somehow. I mean, I have some of my connects. I mean, they're probably the same connects as yours, Henry, because we're kind of like in the same generation-ish. But yeah, I mean, we're happy to help in terms of like, people power and whatever. Just like let us know. But yeah, that's the goal, right? That's where we want to get to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think at a minimum, even making sure that there's like it's not a detractor. I mean, so I was applying to grad schools last year, and actually one of the considerations was like, does this city have a scene?
Yeah.
And like for something like for something like UConn, which is a little further from like any major city, it's like if I knew that like, oh well, they don't have like a city, but I do know that their club is very active, that would like, for me at least, have been a deciding factor. Obviously I've been around and like I kind of know this stuff a little longer, and like that was a decision I wanted to actively make. But like if we get to the point for like high schoolers and like people younger than that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You guys got a Notorious Nick. He's like what, 16, right?
Yeah, he actually lives in the same town as UConn. He lives like
He's-
20 minutes
Oh.
away.
He lives
from the
so
campus.
close to UConn. He lives
Yeah,
so close to
It's funny.
Nice. Y'all better start recruiting him. Then you'll
Oh, we
Yeah,
smoke
he's
everybody
been
in
coming
2
to
years.
practices.
trying.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think we can probably do another stream after Battle for Boston if we're gonna do the tier list and just talk about the gym. I'm like really interested now. And then,
I think it'll be good to do it after Battle for Boston and GMU,
yeah,
because I
let's
think
do it.
geographically we'll get the full spread.
True.
Like
Yeah,
I
let's
think
do
the
it.
people in the middle near Rutgers will go either north or south for one of the two at least.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll get a full picture of what every college looks like after those two. So, and then Rutgers will be kind of the culmination of like everybody can get to Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, JP and Henry, for hanging out with us for this like full hour. It was fun. I'm really glad that we decided to do this, and glad that you guys decided to join this. It's a lot of really good catching up and stuff. So yeah.
Thanks for
So
Thank you.
until next time, and yeah, just feel free to like just interact with the Discord and all of that, so we can keep in touch. I know UConn has a Discord channel, which I joined because I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I didn't jack your idea, by the way. I like made our server, and then I saw that you had a server, so just but yeah, it seems like you guys have really good engagement on there, which is amazing too. So cool. All right, well, I'm gonna go to bed because I got to fly to Denver in the morning for work. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of traveling. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, maybe I'll see you at practice at some point, even though I live like 20 minutes away. I'm gonna start practicing it again. I swear.
TFC is the best in Boston.
It's awesome. Yeah, I went through one time to pick up a T-shirt, and I was like, oh, this is really sweet. So yeah. Cool. All right. Well, good night, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys.
Yep.